we invite you to make such a spectacular accessory, a cozy so-called Nefular, simple rectangular scarf.
Это, в принципе, как выяснилось, очень простой шарфик прямоугольной формы.
With 2 buttons in the corners, this is the smallest option. Number of buttons can be varied, I can be made a bit longer or wider, of different thicknesses. It can be made in different techniques. It is a unisex accessory, in this case we took our favorite shiny threads. We use threads of Gazelle and Melody brands. The size recommendations of a finished scarf are 75 cm long, 25 cm wide. Length can be up to 90 cm, depending on your neck and your preferences. Length and width may vary depending on the thickness of your scarf, but sizes from 75 to 90 cm in length and from 25 to 30 cm in width are best. We will give you our layout size, so you could make it according to your felt's shrinkage rate, decor and style. This is the decor we suggest. Knitting skills are not necessary, you just need to know how to make a knit stitch. We use size 15 knitting needles, you can use any size starting from 10. The looser the stitches are, the more texture the scarf would be. Various stitches and big holes will only add additional charm to the thing. You can make different stitches like on this hat, or make them regular like the ones on this hat's decor. Even if you don't know how to knit, just learn the first and simplest technique of making a knit stitch. If you don't have large knitting needles, then you can just pull out the loop with your finger and hold it and then get any size of the loop. This is such deliberately careless knitting. The more uneven and irregular the knitting will be, the better. Of course, if you like a regular canvas, there is no need to do so. This one is quite regular knitting. Our yarn gives us the possibility of multicolor effect, you can also make strips or some other design. I won't knit all the thread, now I'll just take it off, without binding off. That is, the loops in the end and in the beginning should remain open. I use the thread to collect the stitches. This is how the knitted edge looks on the finished product. Again, here different options are possible. You may not cover the ends with wool, and after felting put some decor in there. We will only show the simplest technique now. After our knitted canvas is ready, wet it in soapy solution. We will work with the reverse layout. Make a solution with a piece of simplest laundry soap and warm water. Let it sit in water for a couple of minutes. Your canvas should be well wet and heavy. To provide easier stretching along the canvas without rolling up or moving anywhere. Our template is just a rectangle drawn on laminate underlay. Now stretch our canvas along the template. In fact, you need to guess the width and the length. But since it is a rectangle, now we will stretch it up to 35 centimeters wide and 120 centimeters long. Pay a bit more attention to the edges, so your threads won't lie there in 2 or 3 layers. Cut it off the yarn threads in the end, but leave the threads that are holding the stitches together. We will take it away when wool starts to grab the threads. You can make this knitted base very fast. Hour is quite enough, even if you don't have knitting skills. You can learn knitting on this sample. You can find basic knitting videos on YouTube or Instagram. As you remember, we are working with the reverse layout, so this is the wrong side of the product. In general, this is not very important, because the wrong side can be laid out as facing. I just wanted the knitting stitches to be seen. Now we will lay out wool and viscose. We use viscose to have less shrinkage. We use the clouds layout. Start from the edges. There is no need to strive and lay the wool out very thinly. It just needs to be plastic and fit beautifully around your neck. If the layer of wool will be thick, it will help to keep the shape and cover the neck well. For those who are seeing us for the first time, how to make clouds layout. You tear off a piece of wool, stretch and pull out thin leaves. Our knitted mesh is visible through the layout. It should be even everywhere. It's easy to understand if some place lacks wool. You spray the layout with water and see the empty spaces. We sprayed it and then covered with a net, moistened it with water and fairy dishwashing liquid solution, pressed with a roller and rubbed with hands using plastic files. Now let's make the edges even and smooth. Be sure that all threads are covered with wool. Now let's lay out the viscose. We use contrasting color viscose that matches threads and wool. At the same time, the uniformity of the layout is very clearly visible when you have contrasting wool and viscose. Lay out the clouds of viscose. Lay it out a bit beyond the perimeter of the wool layout, and then there are two options. First is to felt the scarf and cut the overlaps, or just tuck them like we did with wool. Covered with the net, rub the wool with a piece of laundry soap, just for reliability, as soap has such a connecting effect. Carefully remove the net and correct the viscose layer. We will tuck the overlaps, but in the end decided to additionally cut them to create a clear edge. You can choose any method of creating a clear smooth edge you like. Now we will felt it with a sander, but if you don't use one, put the scarf between two garbage bags and start throwing it. Method introduced by Mataduro Fever, and we, in general, also actively use it. After we turned over the scarf, it's clearly visible that a little bit of viscose came out. We cut it and pull out the thread which was fixing the open loops. Felt with a sander from this side. Our sanders are covered with a layer of IKEA film, providing faster felting. And protecting the machine. Cut the edge, not only viscose, but 1 to 2 millimeters of wool as well to get a clear edge. Throw it several times, squeeze out excess water, and fold the scarf. Our felting basically is going on in volume, because we want to create the effect of texture. We just make the scarf even in the plane. Control the rectangular shape of the scarf in the process of felting to avoid the unexpected surprises like elongated edges. Rectangular shaped products tend to first shrink in the center and then in the corners. So all our movements are directed towards the center when felting in the plane. Also don't forget to check the edges. We have finished felting the scarf. This is what we got. It is a little longer than our prototype, but it's good too. Now sew 2 snaps to the upper corners of the scarf. They are fastened crosswise. Find the place for the first one, fasten it, and find the place for the other. We will do the same with this scarf. Fold it like this and sew the snaps. You can also make cuts for buttons and sew buttons, or felt them yourself. This is how it looks on me. The scarf is fixed in the upper part. You can fit it depending on your neck. It is very cozy, spectacular, and comfortable to wear under or on the outer clothes. You can make a matching hat for the scarf in this technique too. 90 centimeters long scarf seems more comfortable to wear.